Hello, my name's Terry Harbort. I'm the President and CEO of Talisker Resources. We're a gold explorer focused in south central British Columbia in Canada. We're one of the largest single landholders in this area, and we're currently drilling for our maiden resource on the Bralorne Gold project.
Terry, lovely to meet you, and thanks for coming on the show. We've not had you on before, and we've not spoken before, so keen to kind of have the story told to me today. Before we do that, can you tell me a little bit about you? What's your background, and more particularly, what's your relevant background to the task ahead of you here?
No problem, Matthew. I'm a very technical CEO. My background's in a PhD in structural geology and tectonics. Come from a major company background, worked a lot of years with Anglo Gold, which then became Anglo Gold Ashanti. I was part of the Americas exploration team. We're very fortunate throughout that time to make some significant discoveries, about 35 million ounces during that time with Anglo Gold Ashanti. The whole team, including me, left in 2010. We became the arm's length technical team for the Cisco group that was then the original Cisco Mining. We were developing a global exploration strategy for them. They were rightly concerned about a hostile takeover for Canadian Malarctic, which was and still is Canada's largest gold mine. Unfortunately, their concerns were well founded, with a takeover bid by Goldcorp, beaten off by the White Knight with Yamana Agnico. Their management team at Cisco rolled out a 5% royalty, formed Cisco Gold Royalties, and we were taken across the Talisker Group to work with the Cisco Group as well. We worked technically advising them for a number of years behind technical team behind the discoveries at the Windfall Lake with the newer Cisco Mining, another 6.5 million ounces. And then also at the Caribou deposit, formerly with Barkerville, now with Cisco Development Corp, another 6.5 million ounces, where I was chief geoscientist. After that, we sort of decided to go out on our own, that it was time to use our technical abilities to actually make some money for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So who are the people you brought over? Who's actually working day to day with you?
So we actually have a group of companies. And the main ones who work with us, Leonardo de Souza, he's my vice president of resource development and exploration. He was long-term with Anglo American and Anglo Gold. Also my chief geologist, Ruben Padilla. He's slowly working less and less with us as he manages his own company, Sable Resources, that's part of the Talisker Group.
Right, so let's break that down for people, just because it can get complicated with so many moving parts. And so when you say part of the Talisker Group, what does that look like?
So we have at the moment a series of 3 public companies within the Talisker Group. The companies are generally divided up based on jurisdiction and also shareholder interest. So Talisker Resources is the British Columbian-based company. We have Millennial Precious Metals, which is a Nevada-based or project developer at this stage, and Sable Resources, which is a Latin American-focused precious metal explorer.
Right, and all of you work on all of the above all the time? Is that the way, in terms of do you share kind of skill sets, or people pop in as and when requested?
Yes, mainly because it's a fair bit of effort to manage a company, to be a CEO. So we only have limited time available for those other companies, because the main focus is on the companies that we're running. But as all of us have fairly high level expertise, if the company requires that expertise for a short period of time, then we're able to jump across and help out during that time period.
Okay, so you're very clear of what the main focus is, and that's Talisker Resources, yeah? That what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. It's probably 80 to 90% of my time is Talisker Resources and taking us through to discovery. Okay,
so given the kind of big company background and the big discovery background, and in terms of millions of ounces discovered, can you you mentioned Leonardo de Souza. I mean, who else is helping you ably on the ground on this project, Talisker Resources?
Yeah, so he's our vice president of resource development. So he manages quite an extensive team of both explorers who are running the drill program, drill targeting, and also the modelling team as we wireframe the individual veins and we build a very robust resource. So really that's his primary focus, to be able to take us through the resource phase and also overview the early stage or greenfields exploration. We've got a very large greenfields package, nearly 300,000 hectares, one of the largest greenfields or mineral claim holders in British Columbia. And we have a mid-tier there of exploration managers, and Leonardo basically runs that level of management.
Okay, fine. And then before we kind of get into the project proper, can we just talk about some of the show? Obviously, you mentioned them already, Cisco as a shareholder. New Gold, how come New Gold are in there? What's their connection?
Yeah, so it's really a regional play for New Gold. New Gold have the New Afton project, which is Canada's largest and longest running block cave. It's at Kamloops. Kamloops is just a couple of hours on highway, basically from all of our projects. At the moment, it has capacity there for about 16,000 tonnes of milling production, but it's running at about a bit over 50% of that. So New Gold, I believe, is actively looking for mill feed for that toll mill. And there's a few other companies that they're receiving product from, but they're looking for a large increase. So what we believe is that the New Gold are really taking footholds for assets that they'd like to acquire, and really that's their big interest in Talisker. That's why they've taken this cornerstone and have the rights that they do to maintain that level. Okay, fine. And then obviously retail sort of about 40%, institutional about 30%, insiders 6 to 7%. You kind of, I mean, what's the plan? Because you come from big company backgrounds, big company mentality. I mean, is there someone kind of driving the kind of corporate aspect of the business and kind of looking for institutional investors to come in here? Because it's like, what are you? So 80 million market cap company. Typically at this stage, the retail is a big part of this, but you're slightly, well, you kind of break the mold there a little. So we have a fairly large institutional background, and really when we formed the company, we saw that as a key to being able to build a company relatively quickly. We've only been listed for 3 years, and we've done quite a lot of exploration activity in the field over that time. So relative to the timeline, our exploration burn rate's quite high, but also our success is quite high. So we proactively went out using our reputation to look for very robust institutional shareholders that can fund at the rapid rate that we explore. And prior to acquiring our flagship asset, we staked a very large land package into 200,000 hectares, and we were conducting large company-style greenfields exploration with 22 geologists in the field each year. So really what our strategy is to be lean and mean, but also work very fast and explore as quickly as we can to be able to provide value for our shareholders. See, that's quite interesting to me. Lean and mean is all relative, right? If you come from a big company background, it's all relative for you. But if you've got the ability to kind of raise the capital to be quite aggressive with your drill program, it's fine. And I guess the institutions bring you that, whereas retail perhaps might be a bit nervous about the dilution, etc. So that was a conscious decision day one. That you wanted to continue as you had, in your previous employ for larger companies. Okay. Yes. Interesting. If you like, I don't like the concept of a lifestyle company or groups taking 8, 9, or 10 years to make a discovery or holding on to pet projects. So people hanging on to a project and raising a little bit of capital. What we believe is that you have to be very aggressive in exploration, and there's a distinct time cost to money. There's a very cyclical nature to our business. So when the going's good or when the gold price is good, you have to jump in there and go as hard as you can, explore as quickly as you can, and try and make as many discoveries as you can. And that's why we've built an extensive pipeline, and we have a whole series of projects at resource phase, working to discovery phase, drill permit phase, and drill definition phase. So like a major company, we can continue to feed that development of resources, and then look to sell either the projects or sell the company and spin out the next series of resources that are basically ready to go and ready for the next series of discovery. And it's that vision that the institutional shareholders look for. They want to not make one win, which is generally what retail shareholders are looking for, one big win. Institutional shareholders are looking for multiple wins over a longer period of time. And the reality is we do see some big ones in the mining industry, but they're 1 in 1,000 or more. Whereas little wins are really where it's at. Consistent wins with good exploration, because really we believe that exploration is a statistical exercise. When you're in the right terrains, it's all about statistics, all about applying the right amount of work, and you'll make the right amount of discoveries because of that good work.
Fascinating. Right, you raised $12.5 million back in March. I mean, how much money have you raised in the last 3 years on this project?
We've invested about $40 million into the Bralorne project over about the last 2 years, and the vast majority of that has gone into the drill program. We've drilled so far about 140,000 meters. We've probably got about 15 or 20,000 meters left to go in our resource. So it's really all money in the ground, and our drill meters per ounce, we're about 10 ounces per meter. So it's been quite a successful program discovery-wise.
Yeah, that's impressive. So that's 40 million into Bralorne, and you've raised additional monies for the company as a whole, though, yeah?
Yes, so we've raised our early money on greenfields exploration, and we've run our greenfields exploration parallel to our Bralorne drill project. So we've basically taken a series of greenfields targets up to drill phase, and we've got about 14 drill projects that are at various phases of development and of permitting. We drilled one of those, Golden Hornet, so we put about just under 5,000 meters into that last year. Good discovery, 14 holes. Happy to say that every one of those holes had significant sulfide mineralization. And we also acquired the Ladner project, which is near Hope in British Columbia. We acquired that by taking over the junior company, New Carolyn Gold Corp, that held it. It's got about 700,000 resources, 700,000 ounces of resources already on the books. And we're just starting to do a significant work program there to advance that project to indicated resource phase.
Right, so I missed the number there, which was, so in total then the company has raised how much? 40 plus what?
I think over total it's around about $70 million that has gone into the ground.
Right. Okay. So that's a lot of drilling, a lot of assets that you're sitting on, and a very clear strategy. But obviously it sounds like you said it. It's what the institutions want to see. They've got lower return expectations in the sense of they're not looking for 10 baggers. I think it's a phrase we hear a lot from retail investors. So you're working to model which kind of suits the larger institutional shareholders that are in your business, and that makes you feel comfortable because that's what you're used to, right? Okay, understood. Should we talk about Bralorne? Because obviously that's the flagship. That's the one which is kind of throwing off the big numbers at the moment. So you're going to be putting out a resource later, well, in the next couple of months or so potentially. So where are you with that? What do we need to know about it?
So we're well advanced there, and we've drilled. I think we're at about 140,000 meters into the ground. So far, we've got a series of 11 high-grade veins. These veins there are varying grade from about 6 grams up to 16.5 grams. The weighted average across those veins is just over 9.5 grams, 9.6 grams per tonne. The vein widths vary from 1.1 to 2 metres, a bit over 2 metres, average width of sort of 1.6. So it's a very robust project, quite high grade relative to other underground mines around the world, nearly 10 grams per tonne. We're drilling so far from surface to 700 metres depth, and most of these veins have a strike length of 300 to 400 metres and are continuous down to 600 or 700 metres. Bralorne is a historic mine project, but only a small amount of the veins that we're drilling are close to the historic workings. The majority of them are in ownership gaps between the historic mines, so well away from any previous stoping.
Right, but in terms of you talk about giving a maiden resource progress update. Because I get those are the people that are going to look for this kind of meaningful, steps that you have to hit. This would be one for the market to actually judge the success. Because I think you'd probably argue with me that you're not getting full value for the work that you've done to date in terms of the amount of drilling that you've done. So, what would you hope that this maiden resource would say to the market?
Well, it's a major catalyst for us coming up. Basically, at present, you mentioned that we've got an $80 million market cap, and really that's not valued on anything. That's not valued on any concrete resource. The existing compliant resource is quite small. It's in the realm of a couple of 100,000 ounces, and we're looking at coming out well within the range of 1.5 to 2 million ounces. We're hoping, if all goes well, that we can actually beat those estimates of 2 million ounces and get slightly more. So that'll put us in a very strong position, and also a very clear pathway to take that resource even bigger. We see clear potential of a resource target plus 5 million ounces. We believe that Bralorne's a world-class deposit, and we've got well-constrained modelling on that potential from historic drifts and from the drilling that we've done. So really, this is a first step in growing this deposit into a world-class deposit, and we're well on track to do that. And what we expect to see is a good re-rate on the market. Market pays about $70 to $75 US for ounces at that category. So we think we should see a significant move forward in the valuation of the company.
Right, because I think 2 million is the new 1 million. I think when I first started into being juniors, 3-4 years ago, it was like you need 1 million ounce minimum. Now it seems to be 2 million just to get noticed, right? But how far do you take this? Wherever you get to with the maiden resource, in terms of whether you hit expectation, beat expectation, where do you go with this? Can we talk about New Gold potentially being interested in this? But where do you, as a management team, take this? Because you talk about lots of quick wins, lots of quick successes and quick wins. Do you want to be mining this thing?
No, we're an exploration team, and a very specialist exploration team. And if we can use our knowledge and intellectual property to be able to crack the code on a deposit, drill it out enough to convince somebody that it's ready to be mined, that it's much better for us to move that on to a producer, take some money off the table, spin the rest of our assets out, and continue on. With Bralorne, it's a project that's already been significantly de-risked. It's got a major mines permit, maintained tailings dam. It's got well understood water quality. It's got a water treatment facility. Really, it's truckable to a toll mill, potentially at New Afton. So the capex to get this into production is quite low. There's access to several kilometres of underground workings and stopes right now. So really, it's a very advanced project. All it needs is that significant base. So a producer coming in, whether an intermediate or major, can go, okay, well, there's a clear 5-year production pathway and a lot of potential to take this to beyond a 10 or 20-year producer. And as such, we've been engaging with strategics almost as soon as we acquired the asset, socialising the project, socialising what we want to do, really focused on being able to prepare enough resource base that somebody can take this into production and we can get back to doing what we do best, and that's making discoveries and adding ounces onto the books.
Makes sense. And I just want to be clear about, again, for the retail investors who are in this, is you don't necessarily therefore want to go through a series of economic studies. You just want to be able to provide the drill data for a mid-tier or a larger player with a balance sheet to be able to move this thing into production themselves. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. And that's really where the retail investors pick up their premiums. Firstly, coming into resource, that we're going to get a re-rate as we're based on a fundamental resource valuation for the company. Secondly, with a premium relative to a takeover. And I'd be hopeful that before the end of the year, we've reached that position. And then, of course, a third premium uptick on a spinco. So basically a free carry shareholding into a new company that's funded to continue in the pipeline production of projects and hopefully be back at this stage with the next project within 2 years. Okay,
well, that's the next bit of the question here. So I understand the process and of how you're creating your first kind of economic win with Bralorne. That makes sense, and and I think as long as retail understand the process there, it's sort of unconventional compared to what they'd be used to. But then, what is the second cab off the rank, as it were? What will we be talking about in 2 years' time?
In 2 years' time, we'll be definitely talking about the Ladner Gold project. It's similar to Bralorne. It's a district scale land package, so 14,000 hectares. There's a lot of anomalism in this area. 14 historic small mines. We understand the controls of mineralization very well. There's already 700,000 ounces of resource to build upon. We believe very quickly we can take that to 1 million ounces indicated. And we've already started the process exploring for another 2 to 3 million ounces that we can drill at inferred. We've done a soil program at the end of the field season last year, been able to define over 1 kilometre of anomalism above 0.1 of a gram. So we're nearly at open pit cutoff grades in the soils. Within that was several hundred metres above 1 gram per tonne in the soils. So what we're seeing is we're starting to build out that entire belt. And really, we think we can at least get to 1 million ounces indicated very quickly and start to explore to expand that out to a multi-million ounce project that a mid-tier or a major would be interested in, very close to infrastructure. Another permitted project, 1,300 tonnes a day, major mine permit, already a tailings dam in place. So a lot of infrastructure, turnkey, ready to go.
So, well, I just want to finish with this one, okay? Because we always say to our subscribers, followers, etc., that the management team is the difference. Like, so, what would you say your key differential was here? Because when people come on, management teams come on, operational teams come on, and they say we want to do X, Y, or Z, and they do take a little bit longer than perhaps you're indicating that you will. And as you said, I don't want to be a lifestyle company or perceived as a lifestyle company here. We're very clear, having worked in the majors, what they're looking for, and that's what we deliver to. And when we speak to institutions, we say we tell them that plan, and that works for them. Is that the difference, or is it the type of projects that you go after the difference? Where's the unique advantage lie?
To tell you the truth, Michael, I think Matthew, I think it's a combination of them both. Really, there's an awful lot of companies in the junior exploration space, and the vast majority of them never find anything. They never take anything through to fruition. And there's a very small percentage that have incredibly big wins. And some of those, it's through pure serendipity. Some of those, it's systematic exploration. And the reality is there's probably a handful of companies or handful of groups that find everything, find the vast majority of assets. So I think a real key thing for retail investors when they're investing in a junior exploration company is to ask, has the management team ever actually found anything before? Because if not, you've got to ask the question is, do they understand the fundamental methodology of systematic exploration? Can they build a team and execute it? Can they mentor the team? And do they have enough technical capacity to identify whether the ground they've picked up or the projects they've picked up are going to make it at an early stage? Or are they just waiting on luck and serendipity? Now, it's okay. I know a lot of people gamble on the stock market and in the junior mining space, but we're not gamblers. And a joke within our group is we have to be good because we're not terribly lucky. And we don't like to gamble. We like to do systematic exploration and have a systematic outcome at the end of that.
Terry, I particularly enjoyed that, the last bit of the conversation, but also the rest of it. So nice introduction to your team, the projects, the methodology. Stay in touch with us and maybe even come back and do a slightly more technical discussion about how you go about your exploration program, modeling, etc. We'll speak to you soon.
Great. Thanks very much.